Hi again, I'm Stephen Wessner, CEO of Predictive ROI. I'm still here in Disney World as I have been for the last few videos. I'm actually here on my last day. I fly back to Wisconsin tomorrow, off to Arizona, then next week for a speaking engagement, then California, back to Arizona. So it's a very compressed February. So looking for all of those kind of, opportunities to be able to get the recording in and be able to share some insights and, some ideas collected along the way from these experiences. So as I mentioned in maybe 2 videos ago, Drew McClellan and I, so Drew is CEO of the Agency Management Institute. He and I just finished writing this book together. We haven't done our formal book launch yet, but it's Sell with Authority and how business owners can own this spot of authority, like planting the flag in owning the authority position around their business. So one of the things we taught in our workshop, we taught a 2-day workshop last week, toward the end of last week. One of the things that we taught, or one of the mistakes we see business owners making, is the fact that they passively, and I've certainly done this too. I have fallen into this rut from time to time. I run BizDev. I'm in charge of business development at Predictive ROI. That's one of my responsibilities. That is my lane, and that's BizDev. And then Catherine Bessler is in charge of operations. She's our director of operations. And then my business partner, Eric Jensen, is our chief strategy officer. And then our team of 16, I'm included in that number. So our team just kind of fits in all of these different lanes. But the BizDev lane is mine. And one of the mistakes that Drew sees with the agencies that he works with, that I see with the business owners that I work with, is that oftentimes business owners passively wait for new clients to come walking in the door. They just passively wait for the new client, for the referral, for the whatever that next trigger is going to be, that somebody comes knocking on the door and says, "Hey, can you help me with this thing?" And the thing might not be the right opportunity. Heck, the client might not be the right fit client for you. But yet sometimes we get into that rut. Sometimes we just get busy. Candidly, we're working on a whole bunch of things and then we just take our foot off the BizDev gas for a period of time. And then client comes walking in, not the right fit client. We haven't been intentional about it. The project is not the right fit project. And all of a sudden we're working on something that's costing us time and money. Or we're not busy on BizDev or busy doing something else, and we're just sitting there waiting for the phone to ring, and because we're just being passive about it. And that is, so saying that to you, you're probably thinking, well, geez, duh, Stephen, that's not a business development program. And yet we have all done this. And so my challenge to you is, as you're thinking about 2020 and we're early on in the new year, how will you change that? If 2020 is a year that you're going to double down or you have some other big goal, how will you change and no longer passively wait for the new client to come knocking or send you an email or whatever? So I want to suggest a strategy to you, and it's something that I refer to as the Dream 25. And that is where you change the game. Instead of passively waiting, you get intentional about the 25 dream prospects or dream clients that you would love to have. They're currently prospects. So you build a list of your dream 25 prospects that you hope will then turn into your dream 25 clients. Not hope in like, geez, I really hope that these client or prospects will become a client. I'm going to suggest how you can be proactive here in just a second. But the first thing is sitting down with your team and going through research and building a list of your 25 and scouring through it. These are the dream prospects. These are the right fit. They've got the right budget. They're going to allow you to do the right work in the right industries that aligns with your thought leadership, whatever the criteria are. In fact, if you go to our resource library, if you go to predictiveroi.com/resources, you can download our ideal client avatar workbook, and you and your team can sit down and go through all the different traits and identify the commonality of your best fit clients that you've worked with, and then you create a profile or an avatar of your right prospect, your ideal prospect. Then do some research and build a list of 25. Now, once you have your dream list of 25, I suggest you go back to episode 600 of Onward Nation, where I map out in full transparency how you can use the Trojan horse of sales as a way to open the door with your dream 25 prospects and interview them for your video series, for your podcast, for your blog, or an article series you're writing, or featured articles. There's a litany of cornerstone content that you could be creating. Choose one or two channels. This isn't, you have to do all of this, but sit down and interview your dream 25 prospects. Okay. Now, once you have the interview done and you've aired the episode or the video or whatever that content is, where you've showcased the smarts of your prospect, each of your prospects, then it's about taking that content and not thumping your chest and, talking about how great you are and how you deserve an opportunity to win their business, because that's awful. Instead, take their content and now slice and dice it in some really, really unique and interesting ways. In fact, I did a solo cast, I think it was a couple of months ago now, about the 9 different ways. If you go through our archive list, I should have looked it up. Actually, I think I can do that right now. I have my iPad sitting right here. So hang on just one second. And let's see if I'm going to be able to find it, quick enough. So there's a solo cast that I did a couple of months ago. I'm starting to kind of repeat myself here because I'm trying to find the 9 different ways to, there it is. Okay. So if you go back to episode 889, I give you 9 examples of how to slice and dice content. This is why this is important, because you want to take the episodes or videos or whatever of your Dream 25 prospects, and you want to slice and dice those into ebooks, into long form LinkedIn posts, into blog posts, into email campaigns, all of which they are taggable in. And so you want them to see how you are amplifying their smarts even further beyond just the original episode. Right? So you're taking the initial thing and then you're slicing and dicing it into a bunch of different smaller pieces, and they're tagged in all of those. And if they're not tagged, you forward those to them with your gratitude and thanks to them for sharing their insights and wisdom with your audience. Then after about 6 months of doing that consistently, and I'm not talking about every week, right? Every 4 or 5 weeks, you're doing something. Then let me just, actually, I forgot a couple of steps here, which is really important. I'm so excited because I'm in the Walt Disney Suite here at the Grand Floridian. I'm kind of losing my train of thought, so forgive me for that. So after the episode airs and you do some initial slicing and dicing, about 30 days after that, I would suggest that you send them something, as Drew likes to call it, lumpy mail, which would be a book maybe. So get a book, not your own book, because that's self-aggrandizing. Get a book that you think would be helpful to them in their business. A great leadership book. Maybe it's a book on marketing, or maybe it's Content Inc. from Joe Polizzi, or maybe it's Killing Marketing from Joe and Robert Rose, and say, hey, Sarah, or hey, Jack, I know that what you're going through in your business right now, chapter 4, because you're really trying to grow, chapter 4, my guess is going to be super helpful to you, just as it was to me. Enjoy the book, right? So now you're sending something lumpy, something tangible, and you're doing all this slicing and dicing content. So they're getting a real good mix of tangible stuff as well as online stuff. Okay. Sorry, I forgot that point. All right. So now about 6 months after that episode is aired, I would suggest this. You loop back to your guest in an email and say, hey, Beth, thanks again for being my guest on episode 700 and whatever. Really grateful to have you as a guest on my show. Thanks for being super helpful to our audience. Really appreciate the insights and wisdom that you shared. In fact, my team and I just sat down and we re-listened to the episode. And when you said X, that made us think about Y. And you know what? We do Y really, really well here. By chance, is there a day or time next week that we could sit down and talk about that? Well, now you have completely changed the game. You're not a salesperson looking for a new client. or like an open door to jump in with your presentation. Instead, what you have been is a great partner. You did the initial interview. Beth had an opportunity to be super helpful to your audience, and she was. She really stepped up and delivered. Then you said thank you by sending her a helpful resource about a book that was really aligned with where her business was going. And that's super helpful on your part. Then you've taken her content and amplified it in a really unique and interesting way over the last 180 days. Not every day, maybe a couple times a month. And that gave her greater visibility and so forth. And she probably commented too, thank you, this and that, as you tagged and whatnot. So now when you loop back to her, again, this is not the sales process. You're going to loop back to her and say, I think I can be helpful. We do this really, really well. Can we have that conversation? It doesn't feel like a sales pitch at all. It feels like two business people coming together, trying to discuss maybe business issues and challenges and how they can be helpful to one another. It is a game changer. It's called the Trojan horse of sales, but it only works if you have a Dream 25 prospect list. So I'm encouraging you, if you are looking to 2020 as a way that you're going to double down in your business, and I sure hope that you are, it starts with knowing exactly who and defining who you're going to try to be helpful to. And that's your Dream 25 list. So go to predictiveROI.com/resources, download the client avatar handbook, and start mapping out that process. And then invite your prospects to be a guest on your show, video series, whatever, in accordance with episode 600 of Onward Nation, and get the Trojan horse working in your business. I hope that you found that helpful. I look forward to seeing you next week. And until then, double down and onward with gusto.